Oh, welcome to another episode of the Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. If you want to do email deliverability, the link is in the description, as it always is. And also, as always, it would not be possible without them to interview cool people doing cool things like Sam. Welcome.
Thank you, Blake. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, so I'm impressed by the image that you have behind you or your background. I really love. It was one of the first things I noticed about the company was the logo.
Yeah,
But I also think what you're doing, it's an interesting space to be in, and I always love hearing from business owners how they're navigating it because I think it's at the same time a very popular space to be in. So I'm excited to get into it. For anyone that doesn't know yet, if you could give a quick introduction of yourself and what you're building.
sure. Well, I'm Sam Hebeisen. My wife and I, we started MindModel.ai, and what we want to do is basically prompt people's potential through awareness around what AI tools are around, but also to kind of automate difficult parts of a business so that people can kind of improve their efficiency and just love their job instead of hate it.
So is this your first? So I think starting a business with a partner is also something to touch on. But is this your first or your partner's first business?
Yeah. Well, I just got married perhaps maybe 5 years ago, and after COVID, we decided to kind of pivot and uh, showcase what AI is possible, especially what people can do with AI instead of just a instead of getting replaced,
Yeah.
empowering oneself in their own work.
Well, so let's dive a little deeper into that then. So, if this is your first company, so what was it that brought me? You mentioned COVID, but what were you working on into COVID, during COVID, that
Sure.
made you decide to jump into entrepreneurship outside, like instead of something potentially more stable?
Well, I was a software engineer, perhaps 20 years for of my life, and then I pivoted to cloud architecture as I got older. But now with AI, basically programmers and developers are the ones at the highest risk of job loss. And considering I'm competing against the young gigabrains coming out of school, it was just made a lot of sense for me to kind of, hey, if AI is really this powerful, and I experienced it myself in the last job I had, that I pivoted to elevate myself, but also to make sure that everyone can be empowered by these tools and basically almost do anything and be anyone that they have a calling to be.
So, what was then the experience that you had in that job prior to
Sure.
starting it? What was that experience that you had that prompted you to say, "Wow, this AI is cool," or "This is what I'm doing," stuff like that?
For sure. Like my first experiences was needing to build a platform by myself, and queries and SQL statements really wrangle the brain to be effective. But ChatGPT 3.5 at the time, was able to write these quite effectively in almost no time. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to do this anymore. And then it was true for also development and basically designing systems. So I myself was able to accomplish so much that I didn't need a team anymore. So that meant that if I don't pivot, I'm the one that's going to be replaced next, or at least, the competition is going to be uh, certainly measurable. So might as well keep track of all the advancements, and this is what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I spend about 20% of my time just keeping track. And aside from going to Lulu often, I feel very comfortable and confident in basically showing people what to do, what not to do, but also the risks around it. You can't put all your eggs in a basket, and the AI technology is still new, and people are very excited, but they still need kind of like a sound mind and approach to make it effective in their business and themselves.
Yeah. Well, so you'd mentioned that you were doing um, software development for most of your career, and then you pivoted or transitioned, evolved into back end infrastructure, which to me, as typically like very small technical, I took like two classes in college around it. I learned more. I learned R. I don't know if you're familiar with it. With the it's more like a data science.
The
Uh,
statistics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, language. And so,
Mhm.
when it came to like Python or whatever, I was like, I have no idea what this is. But to me, with my friends being in it and everything, back end infrastructure seems like something that's really interesting and the most I guess arguably, but the most powerful part of building like a real technical business solution, like something that's durable over time. So, what was your own journey pivoting to back into infrastructure versus whatever else you were doing beforehand?
Well, basically, as I had grown older and developed in my career, um, over 20 years, you see the kids coming out of school who have been trained and taught using tools and frameworks that did not exist when I was in school, right? So it's basically a chase and not really a chase, but over the years, you gain a lot of systems design, kind of understanding and experience, and that becomes also a valuable skill in, okay, how can we design this so that it's extremely fast, so latency sensitive, cost effective. So, many startups have gone bust just not keeping track of how much these scaled systems cost, and together, infallible. So there's a thing called SLA where you measure the uptime of any product, and the closer it is to 100%, the better it is in a risk standpoint, but also in um, the ability to scale. So you don't want to scale something that breaks all the time, right? That's stuck at zero. But if you can run something super smoothly and have an error rate of close to zero, and a cost close to zero, then that is what scalability actually is. And scalable systems are what really kind of gives you that profit margin and access to be able to have that pathway to access a greater volume of users, basically. With AI, though, the development or the security layers or the time it takes to build a certain design or even to plan a certain system, you've got 90% savings on time there. And it's even if there are risks in using active AI, like you've got an LLM talking to a customer, that would make me sweat a little bit, but you can personally use AI to build whatever it is you're building and then keep that customer relationship quite personal.
So you mentioned something that was interesting, and that has been a topic of conversation in some of my recent conversations, which is when you build things, are I guess a lot of the things that have been built recently with AI lack the security layers that you're speaking to about data and things like that. Just because the people that are building it don't know about systems architecture, and so I guess, and if it relates to the types of things that you're helping people with Mind Model, then that's cool. But what are your thoughts about that? About people building with AI and missing out on the security aspect of infrastructure?
Well, first of all, everything's going so fast, right? Like if you've got app builders like Replit and Lovable, and these things didn't exist a year or 2 years ago, right? So people are going basically hand. And it has leveled the playing field in that we have downward pressure on tech. There are no tech jobs, at least in Ontario, right? But there's also this strong elevation of people who aren't so technical, but now have the same ability to build something that looks deployable and very powerful.
Sure.
So the first point is that it's still early, right? The fact that it can just generate these things out of thin air, just with spoken word, now exists. And, with Lovable Cloud and Replit agents, security is definitely coming and it's quite effective. And from what I've seen, it's cost effective as well. When you have AI come in to kind of optimize efficiency, economies of scale, then amazing things can happen just by a single user. And another point I want to make is that a individual can make an application and not need it to scale to a million users and get rich quick or whatever, right? You can make apps for yourself. For example, um, my wife and I, we have two young kids, and we try to introduce allergens, and you can buy these kits, but you can only buy them in the United States, and they're too expensive. But you can ask ChatGPT to basically make a allergen introduction system where it introduces all these allergens using just things that you can buy in the supermarket, like, peanut butter and such. And then I
Hmm.
just had an AI talk, last Friday, and using Replit, you can create such an app and offer it to your friends or whatever. So the point here is that there's great value in personal use and personal software development for your own tools at work and at home without requiring the security implications of putting out to the wild for everyone to use, right? So let's say if you Claude Artifacts or even GPT-5 now, you can just ask, oh, I'd like a calculator that does this to help myself at work because I use pen and paper and Excel. And then once it creates that app or, an HTML file you can save on your desktop, that's for you to use to make your job easier and faster. And that doesn't require crazy security compliance requirements because it's just running on your computer. But you still 10x as a value provider, right? For your employer or for yourself.
So then, I think this is also something that you had mentioned, and something that you started to touch on as well. Before we get into, I think the story of your journey with Mind Model, part of what you spend your time on is staying really up to date with how fast things are moving. So, if, um, I guess could you just give like a little like overview of what's been happening recently? What's important
Sure.
to stay on top of?
Absolutely. So early in my journey, I learned a lesson, and that is don't form opinions. And the reason why I can't form opinions anymore is because let's say there's this new AI tool, you try it, you form an opinion. By the time you get the chance to express it somewhere, you're wrong because something else has come in, and often have rendered everything else invalid. For example, let's say AI avatars, like Synthesia or HeyGen, you record yourself for 2 minutes and then it's very good at basically mimicking your nuances with all sorts of text triggers for gestures. But now you have all sorts of like a VO3 or a Kling where you upload multiple images of yourself. It generates a low rank adaptation or a character. And then from there, you just generate whatever video you'd like with perfect lip sync with voice clone. You don't need to use the AI avatar platforms anymore because now you have advanced video generating platforms, which incredible flexibility. And a fun thing that everyone can try actually. So Higgsfield is something I also demonstrated last Friday in my event where you just log in, you upload an image, and then there's a bunch of presets, and you can use Nano Banana to just create the first frame and the last frame, and the video fills in between. And you can create incredible social media content within seconds. Um, you can also use VO3 with Google Flow. And a favorite example is like you can get these, those street interviews you see on
Yeah.
Instagram. You can just make those up, and they're perfectly believable, and that's how you can, you know, be funny, express yourself,
Yeah.
but also kind of try to fool people that it's actually real. But it is truly a lot of fun. But video is incredible right now. Sora 2 just came out. I can give you an invite code, or whoever wants one can just connect me on LinkedIn. I'm giving them out. Um, and those are that's it's unbelievable what Sora 2 can do. You create these cameos like a character and then put them in a scenario of some sort, and you probably see them like floating around on the internet, and it's not going to slow down. Like we have passed the threshold of realism, so this video can create realistic video. You're going to see a lot of it, more so than not, because actually creating content with video equipment takes time and money. Creating the same type of content, if not more fantastical and fun, now create takes seconds, right? You're going to see a lot of that. So I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's the situation we're in. It's definitely going to be fun, but that I have loads of other examples if you want to.
Well, I think it's a good segue into mind models. So all of these capabilities that you speak to, um, I guess I'd be curious in your own experience so far, because how long has it been now that you guys have been building this?
2 years.
Yeah, so in the last 2 years of and before, like speaking to all these people about how they're using AI or how they're not using AI, what is the most common way that you see people underutilizing the capabilities? In
I
another
think
way, what's the easiest way for an average person to get the most utility out of an AI tool?
absolutely. So 2 years ago, AI sucked, right? mountains of risk. Today, there is still mountains of risk. So I have two parts of the business. I have the awareness side and I have the business side. On the business side, we create automations with risk off approaches, a lot of validation, um, no, let's create an avatar and saying whatever, right? But then there's also the awareness side where we talk about these crazy things just to make sure that they're not, finding themselves in a vulnerable position, getting convinced by videos that are definitely not real, but no one can tell anymore, right? Um, there is this crazy thing called the uh, AI influencer marketplace where you can pay like about $350. And these aren't Instagram accounts. These are LoRa weights that you can apply to video generators.
Hmm.
And it's a character, it's a person. And with that, you can then create Instagram accounts as this person. And it's undetectable. You see them on Instagram all the time. OnlyFans, these things don't exist, but people can't tell, right? So on the awareness side of things, we just show, hey, this is available, this is how they do it. Bad guys are going to use this, um, but we want you to use it too to elevate your own reality, right? They're just full of risk. So in the business, we are risk off, and in awareness, we're just like in your face risk. This is what's going on. As long as you understand it, we're happy. And
So how,
the awareness side is basically a way to. I spent so much time tracking it. I can't really use that knowledge except for telling people, hey, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this. Also, this is awesome. You should try it.
well, in the 2 years that you've been doing this, and now you speak about it, you split into these two. How has the company changed over the last 2 years? Has it been those two clear halves since the beginning, or did that evolve over time?
No. So first, personally, I'm not a salesperson or a person to go out to sell. I was stuck behind a screen behind it last 20 years, right? So a lot of it was a personal development for me to like, okay, now I have to go meet people, try
Sure.
to talk to people, and these are skills that I personally have learned or are currently trying to learn. Like I'm on a podcast right now. I would never do that, a few years ago. Um, to answer your question, though, from the previous one that I missed out is how people could just get
Huh.
involved. And that's basically just using it, right? ChatGPT is free. The advanced voice mode on ChatGPT is incredible. You can talk to it. Just talking to an AI is a great step. Uh, and if you pay a little bit, in Canada it's $30. In the United States it's 20 a month. You can do all sorts of things with it. For example, advanced mode has a voice. Once you're in the voice, you can turn on video. Now it can see what you see on the screen or outside, and it can guide you from cooking, baking a cake to, trying to figure out how to file your taxes on your phone, right? So just using it is what is the first step for anything, and no one should feel intimidated because it's easier than they think.
Well, another thing I think that's been a topic of conversation. I think it's related to our conversation about security. Now, we spoke about it within the perspective of somebody building with AI and not building in particular security measures for that. But as far as the awareness side of your business goes, what do you say to people when, you're exposing I mean, there's already so much data exposed, obviously, to big tech. That's not a new thing. I mean, it's influenced elections. It's influenced the direction that the world has gone. But what do you say as far as people that are concerned about the amount of exposure? Because this is like the most exposed. Like you just said, you can share what's on your screen, video, like pictures of yourself, like all this stuff. Like, what do you say with people that are concerned about the amount of exposure that they have to someone like, OpenAI?
Yep. So oversharing is definitely an issue. And just quick, the spectrum of privacy, like the most private is running an AI on your own computer, and they're getting smaller and more efficient, and that's becoming, a reality. Even I think Google released App Studio or something where you can get it on your phone. I'll get the I'll tell you guys later, but there's a Edge Gallery, Google Edge Gallery. You can get that on your Android phone. It allows you to run AI on your phone. All conversations on there, it's not good as GPT-5, but that information never leaves your phone. If you have a nice laptop or a powerful desktop, you can get some really beefy AI models running on your computer, no internet required, and that's the most safe. That's the
Hmm.
one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, well, the other end of the spectrum are these AI services that are financed, meaning they're free, that will basically take your data and then sell it, right? So even though DeepSeek is a open source model and you can download it and use it very privately, you can also use it on a free version hosted in China, which is very powerful and great. But if you overshare into a Chinese hosted application, the Chinese government, first of all, mandate ownership on that data. And second, they can sell that data in the dark web. And guess what? American companies will buy it. So
Hmm.
that's one place where you do not want to overshare anything. Somewhere in the middle, where there is government governance and privacy, in North America, for example, United States, ChatGPT sounds great, and in as long as if you use the free version, they will obviously try to capitalize on that data
Sure.
somehow. But if you actively pay, you at least are kind of in um, that system of trust where it's safe to use. Otherwise, they wouldn't go far, right? So I personally trust all the leading services like Gemini, ChatGPT, perhaps Grok. But once you go local, so no internet required, that's the safest. And once you go hosted, you know, um, other third-party services offering AI inference for a
Yeah.
fee or none, that's where it's like, okay, I am the product here, so I got to watch out what I share.
Super useful. That's a really useful framework. So with mind model specifically, what has your experience been? Growing, getting clients, establishing a presence. Like you were saying, there's not only that personal transformation, but just like, in the beginning when you have zero clients, going from 0 to 1, and then
Mhm.
going from 1 to 10, whatever that looks like for you.
Yep.
What has your experience with that been?
So it's certainly challenging because people are afraid, and you hear all the good news, but you also hear all the bad news, like how much AI do I really want to integrate in my business, right? So for that reason, we present our services as risk off. We are RPA first, meaning robotic process first, and AI is not on the forefront talking and making decisions. AI is in the back, either building the solutions or making decisions like classification and organizing data. So that's what sets us apart, actually. We do have voice as well, where you talk to an AI, but we try not to have. There's many guardrails, and we try to have an a purpose-driven goal in that. Oh, collect the information, find out what they want, and then post process instead of having these long ended kind of conversations, which are impressive, but they can go off the rails all the time. So to answer your question, risk off is basically our mandate, or our mission is to prompt people's potential to make
Yeah.
sure people are
Yeah.
elevated. But our principles are basically risk off. We're not going to put AI where it doesn't need to be, and we're here to automate business to make it very effective and very efficient. And even if AI is not involved there talking, it's certainly involved in the building process, which uh, cataclysmic savings there.
Yeah. So did your the first engagement that you had, does it look very different or relatively similar to the last one or current ones that you have?
Very different. My first is actually the bread and butter. Uh, Previous client from previous work for cloud architecture and basically systems design. And nothing to do with AI, but allows me to start up with a runway,
Got it.
which I appreciate greatly. Uh, and as we get the AI clients, those are kind of smaller pilot projects, proof of concepts, no like large scale enterprise machine learning systems because A, still early, two, I'm not a machine learning engineer,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and three, our focus is business process optimization using RPA, but also AI augmented product delivery.
So with all of this, it's a pretty massive mission that I think you guys have set forward to do, and I really appreciate the awareness aspect of. I mean, automating businesses, under helping people understand what their potential is, I think is really awesome. And I also think that pairing that with a certain level of awareness is really important. So I appreciate you doing that. So two questions that I have for you are: what is the biggest hurdle that you're facing at the moment, and how is it also an opportunity?
Yeah. So my biggest hurdle was obviously sales. Google ad-driven sales is very expensive, high risk.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to go bankrupt. Networking is expensive, but I also discussed this in my talk, um, the segment I called Marketing in 2025. I had great success with Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There are automations you can do that basically really fine tune what you're looking for, prepare the messaging that's extremely targeted, and then my involvement is only it only comes in with people who are interested in the first place, right? So I was able to accomplish probably 100-fold more effective just by using Sales Navigator, proper messaging, and focusing on people that might want my services, other than networking in the blind, ads, like buying ads, or just typical direct mail. It's very expensive, and for small businesses like me, ineffective. So um, also, cold email is illegal in Canada, I'm afraid. So enriching records and doing the same process would also work, but we are risk off by principle, so
Hmm.
uh, can't really explore that.
Well, in navigate, I think it's a really awesome piece of your story about how personal the journey has been for you becoming, more comfortable with this type of experience and decision making with being outgoing and things. So, working through all of that, I'm curious what inspires you.
Well, I'm naturally driven. Um, I'm productivity oriented. So, like, if I feel that I'm unproductive, I feel kind of disgusted in myself. So I'm always doing something, whether it's smart or stupid. I can't really sit still. So my primary motivation is basically inside me. My secondary motivation is build something for my kids because they're expensive. They eat a lot of food, so I got to make some money somehow, right? So because I'm, basically building this business by myself with my wife, this is our source of income, right?
Mhm.
It's not like we have a steady job like we had in the past, so we got to
Sure.
hustle whether we like it or not, right? And the third motivation, profound, but can't really take any credit for it, is that AI is awesome, right? When I have AI trainings, when I talk about AI, or when I show a demo on the screen, people's minds are blown and they're like, holy crap, you're right. But, you know, I have to tell them, hey, I didn't invent any of this. I'm just showing you what I saw on the internet, right? I just understand it a little bit better so I can explain it to you. But the fact that they receive it so well, whether I present it well or not, is a great motivator because I'm sure if you've got a job, you don't really like it, and you're selling something that no one wants, that must be kind of soul crushing, right? Whereas I'm being a noob showing people what's available and they love it, that's motivating and also a fortunate situation, but also why I chose this to do in the first place.
Yeah. Well, if anyone else was inspired to follow along with your journey, what's the best way to do so?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If anyone else was inspired to follow along with your journey or get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Oh, LinkedIn is the best. I'm kind of honing in on Sales Navigator and everything. My Instagram's not so hot, but hopefully soon with some AI generated video. But LinkedIn is great, and that's where most of my activity is.
Awesome.
So yeah, Sam Hebeisen, just look me up. And
Well,
if you connect with me, I'll send you a Sora 2 invite code.
oh, that's
I've
right.
got plenty of those. Oh, well, I had Perplexity Comment invites too, but they just got released, so free for everybody. Try it out.
Nice. Well, Sam, thank you so much for your time. Excited to stay in touch and see where it goes.
Great. Hey, thanks for having me.
You got it.